Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for watching this recording. I'm sorry that I can't be with you guys live today. I'm doing an in-person teaching thing in near Chiang Mai, but yeah, so I'm just recording this a few days early, and hopefully it'll be as fruitful as the live sessions. This is actually the first time that I'm doing a recorded session, recorded lecture. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it'll be the same format. We'll just do a short meditation, and I'll go through the lecture and the questions that I ask throughout. You can just write in a comment in the YouTube section, and then maybe subsequent answers just as a reply to your own comment, so it doesn't get too messy. So yeah, let's get started. So you can just find your position that you're gonna sit in for the next 10 minutes or so. It can be on a chair, it can be on a cushion. And just feel that you can immediately, in a snap of a finger, just become present with your body. Remembering what it's like to be deep in meditation and just creating that type of awareness immediately. Letting everything else go. Resting in the body. Noticing that you can do this with eyes open or eyes closed. Usually when our eyes are open, our vision is kind of primary, but we can also let the vision become secondary and let our body sensations, the feeling of our body, the feeling of sitting, the feeling of breathing, contact with the chair, contact of your arms resting on you. You can let that become the primary aspect of our experience. Almost like we're taking refuge in the feeling of our body. And allowing whatever is here to be here. Softening and letting anything that you're trying to maintain go. We let go of any battle, any struggle. Open to whatever our experience is. Unconditionally. This moment is an excellent moment. This moment is the best moment of your life. And take a moment to feel, even though we're not live together, let's feel the presence of all the other meditators who are with us on this journey for the last 8 days. And people across the world, India, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Germany, Italy, America, Spain, many different meditators. The pilgrims who have stayed sticking with the practice. You guys are the ones who are left. Many people quit because of whatever reason. Maybe it's not the right time for them, but you stuck with it for yourself. So just appreciating this fact. You are doing exactly what you want to be doing right now. Okay, and now you can open the eyes again, come back to being a person interacting with the world, watching this lecture. And I invite you throughout this lecture, whenever you remember, just come back to the body. So we can kind of just pause and keep coming back. That will help your mind and your body reset and just give a moment of rest, which is a wonderful practice. Okay, so today we'll be talking about how to integrate this practice into our daily life, how to practice Vipassana moving forwards, and how to bring the insights from Vipassana, the type of awareness that we're cultivating on the cushion, into the world of the cushion, because that's where it ultimately matters. That's where we relate to people, that's where we relate to ourselves, that's where we relate to the things that we care about. So it's not something that should stay isolated and here's my meditation and that's it. It's in a box, it's in a container. We want to bring those qualities into the rest of our life, and we can do this intentionally, and doing this intentionally helps those qualities to also bleed over more easily into the rest of our life. So I want to ask you first, what has been your key learning so far? What did you learn during this course? So maybe you can just pause the video now and think a bit and write that in the YouTube comments. So mindfulness helps us gain experience. So whatever you guys have learned so far, you've learned this through observation. You've learned this through observing your mind and body, your thoughts, observing how they work, observing how your attention works, observing the different causes and conditions that create peace, the different causes and conditions that create more dissatisfaction, more irritation, more restlessness. Maybe you can start to tease apart a little bit what happens. Or if I do this, this usually happens. If I do this, this happens. You can start to see more how everything's connected, how we're not an independent thing that's interacting with the world, but how things are constantly influencing us. Our mind is influencing our body's influencing our mind. This whole system is influencing the environment is influencing us again. And we can see how all these things work. So mindfulness or Vipassana, insight meditation, the way we are aware of this process, it helps us gain experience, into the truth, into the way reality is working. Usually before we start this process, we are much more in our thinking mind, our different ideas, our delusions, our fantasies, our assumptions about the world. And by relying a little bit less on this thinking analytical way of being, but much more on your direct experience, your experience of the world. And that way your models, your ideas that you use about the world become a lot more accurate because they are backed up by your experience rather than by something that you read about or heard about, which is also useful, but it's also important to investigate those things in your experience, and you'll be much more confident, much more sure in what you think about, your ideas that you hold, the models that you use to make decisions, the decisions that you make about what makes you happy, etc. You'll understand yourself better, so that you'll be able to make better decisions with these things. So maybe that's something that you've already experienced, and hopefully you have in the last 10 days or so. It's important that we accept ourselves. We accept all parts of ourselves. It's not about trying to change ourselves immediately. That happens over time naturally, but we want to observe the good things about ourselves. Loving kindness, being caring for others. This is the quality that I have. Being neutral, being equanimous when bad things happen. Wonderful. I like this. We have to see the bad things about ourselves, which are a bit more hard to accept. The way we judge people, the way we judge ourselves, anger, hatred, victimization, how we victimize ourselves, blaming the world for stuff, and the neutral things, the things which are neither good nor bad. So we want to see all of this, and we want to accept all of this. And only when we accept these things, we can start to become free of them, start to make our happiness less conditional on the comings and goings of experience. We also start to learn that really 100% of our suffering is created by the mind, by our expectations, by our desires, by our delusions, our fantasies, our assumptions. And maybe in the beginning, you won't really believe me. Maybe you think, okay, maybe 10% or 20% is created by my mind, but the rest is kind of the fault of the outside world, because this person is like this, because this happened, because it's too hot, because it's too cold, and that's why I feel unhappy right now. But the more you meditate, the more you observe this happening, the more you realize is actually all created in the mind. It's all our ideas, all our expectations. We're never really experiencing reality. We're just always experiencing our models, our interpretations, our the way our brain aggregates and classifies the information from our senses. Yeah, so it's there's really a lot to learn with meditation. One thing I want to talk about is these kinds of 3 different levels of happiness that we know. So they range from more short-term happiness that usually comes back to suffering, to more long-term happiness that doesn't come back to suffering. So what do I mean by that? For example, the sensual pleasures, the sensual desires, the thing like we desire for a little hit of dopamine, the desire to look at our phone, the desire to eat something sweet, the desire to all these kind of more short-term sensual pleasures, which feel good in some sensory way, and then as soon as they're over, and they are what an untrained mind tends to do is grasp after them. Okay, we want more of that pleasure, and we want to push away the unpleasant things. Then you've got a second type of happiness, which is a bit more longer lasting, comes on a bit slower, but is a bit more sustainable. And this is the happiness from peace. So this can be peace that's cultivated through meditation, through calming the mind, but it can also be peace from if you go walk in the nature, if you go on a nice holiday, you come back, and first few days at work, you feel everything is much lighter, things are more easy. But invariably, then life starts coming back, and yeah, we start to again get a little bit agitated, a little bit irritated, which is the nature. The third level is and for the first two levels, that's not to say we cannot have those things. It's totally okay to enjoy. It's totally okay to enjoy peacefulness, to enjoy things like yoga, which make us feel good. But we want to always combine it with this third level of happiness, the happiness from wisdom, the happiness that comes from the right understanding of how experience works, which ultimately gives us freedom from happiness, freedom from needing things. So this is really the type of happiness that we're cultivating by understanding our experience, by insight meditation, by Vipassana, by seeing clearly, because then we can intuitively understand that when I enjoy a sensual pleasure, I can enjoy it, but then afterwards there's no more craving, no more grasping after that experience. Or even when there's peace, now there's peace. Okay, now there's no more peace. There's no need to fix everything, change everything, and obsess about there not being peace, because everything is impermanent, everything's constantly changing, flowing. So this wisdom from happiness, this happiness from wisdom is really much more a long-term project, something that we can continuously cultivate through Vipassana meditation. Okay. So the next thing that I want to ask you is, how do you deal with discomfort or unpleasant emotions? Do you tend to deal with them by more kind of distracting yourselves, by thinking about something else, by trying to do something else, busying yourself? Or do you tend to ruminate or worry, or kind of does it feel like your mind dwells on these subjects, or overthinks them, and kind of feels like you're going a little bit in loops and you don't really have much clarity? And yeah, maybe you can just, as a reply to your previous answer, write A or B, or write distraction or overthinking. Oh, yeah, you can just briefly pause. And these are basically the two different ways that an untrained or a mind that is very habitual and acts on desires deals with unpleasantness or discomfort. Tends to, okay, I need to do something else. I distract myself. I focus on something else, which helps. It's not to say that it doesn't help, because our mind gets distracted and we focus on another thing. But that thing that bothers us might disappear momentarily, but it will always keep coming back. And the other thing is, if the mind, you identify too much with that thing that bothers you, and your mind just kind of grasps onto it, and something bad happens, maybe something embarrassing happens, and you just kind of make it about yourself. You really personalize the things. Your mind starts to overthink, oh, what does this mean? Blah, blah, blah. How do I get out of this? Rather than just letting it pass as an impersonal thing. So what can we do when something unwanted happens, when something surprising happens that we didn't expect, and we see, oh, it's creating some discomfort for me, it's creating unpleasant emotion, unpleasant sensation. It's creating thoughts which I don't like. It's creating maybe harmful behaviors. I tend to, go into addictive patterns. I tend to overly express and lash out when I'm angry, stuff like this. So we always have multiple options. We don't have to always go to mindfulness to deal with our stuff, but mindfulness is definitely the most long-term option. So, for example, someone comes to me and says something I don't like. Maybe they are disagreeing with an opinion I hold very dearly. Maybe they are insulting me subtly. So we can walk away. This is never a bad thing to do. You feel you're getting overwhelmed, walk away. Always the easiest, nice thing to do, rather than harming the situation. We can also use positive thinking. We can try to reframe this bad thing. So, for example, this morning I was being a little bit upset at myself because I woke up late. I missed my morning meditation, and I kind of woke up later than I would have liked to, or I planned to the night before. And initially there's some kind of discomfort, some self-doubt, some kind of scolding myself a little bit, but that's okay. So I can walk away. I can just, whatever, I can get on with my things. I can distract myself. I can go to start my day, and that's fine. You can use positive thinking. Okay, I can reframe the situation somehow, maybe thinking about the fact that, oh, you know what, I got a little bit extra rest, it's okay. I needed that, kind of using this thinking layer of the mind to make myself feel better. Totally valid. The third option would be concentration meditation. So I notice, oh, there's this discomfort here, there's this feeling of disliking, and I focus on my breath, the in and out and breath, and this calms the mind. Or I focus on a mantra, or I focus on visualizing a happy place, or I focus on loving kindness or metta or something like this. This also helps calm that irritation. The fourth and most sustainable long-term way of dealing with that would be mindfulness. So I clearly see that process happening. So waking up, I notice that this discomfort is happening, these thoughts are happening, and I notice what is this experience made from. So I can see there is some thinking, there's this narrative going on, there's some emotion, there's some feelings in the body, there's a bit of tightening here, and there's tensing in my shoulders because I feel, okay, now I have to do something. Okay, I'm noticing the different components of the experience, and I'm practicing just to be aware of them, just to accept them as they are without needing to change them. And that's really what we're cultivating in the meditation also. And then that can be the first step, and then after I can go and do something else. I can go and walk away, I can continue my day, whatever. But what really is beneficial about this mindfulness way is that over time, that thing actually stops bothering us less and stops bothering us as much. So the next time it happens, there'll be a little less pushing away of that experience. There'll be a little less aversion or craving for something else. And over time, we can kind of reduce this amount that our mind starts to react to something unpleasant that's happening. So it's really the long-term project, as I was speaking about before, with the third level of happiness, the happiness from wisdom. So one little tip when things are happening which you don't like is just to, if you feel, okay, it's very impossible right now to feel the sensations around, or I just feel blind or very foggy or hazy, or there's too much going on and I'm thinking a lot. Just dial down dial down the amount that you're pushing away or wanting something. So we can, so these little dials that nowadays it's just the volume buttons on our devices, but previously with the stereo things, they had the dial, or the radio dial. So just dial down the amount of intensity you're pushing something away, or amount of intensity that you're desiring something. So we all have our dreams, our hopes. So if I want something to happen, or I want to be in this position, in I want to get a promotion in the next year in my job, and I can really want this very intensely. I want this so much, and that creates unpleasantness, unhappiness in the present moment. Or I can treat it more as, okay, yeah, that would be nice to have. So it's not about, we don't have to let go completely all our desires, especially when we're living in daily life. Maybe that's useful on meditation retreat, but we always keep coming back to being ourselves. So we can just dial down the amount of neediness, the amount of things we need. We can make ourselves simpler. And through simplicity, through needing less, we realize that we already have what we need. So this is just a little helpful heuristic to use. So let's take a moment to snap into body awareness. Okay. Over time, that will get easier and easier. The more you practice, and the more you practice to bring it into your day, the easier it is to just, at the snap of a finger, or when you remember to do it, just to, it's almost like we're powering down briefly and then rebooting, almost like a restart, a reset. So whatever you're worrying, thinking, stressing about, just, you can help it soften, you can help it even disappear completely. And then again, act and move on to doing again. So I want to talk about two different dimensions of our meditation practice, which is not really something that I've heard before from, or to put it this way, from many teachers, but we have the dimensions of depth and of width or of breadth. So we can make our meditation practice deeper and broader, and we really need to develop along both of these spectrums in order to really become more unconditionally happy throughout our life. So what do I mean by going deeper? What do I mean by going broader? I have a slide. So going deeper into our meditation is basically anything where we are continuously and cumulatively cultivating awareness and equanimity and concentration, and moving deeper into being aware and dissecting reality into its components. So this is our formal practice. So our formal daily practice, our 1 hour of meditation, or 30 minutes, or whatever that you're doing. And over time, this practice starts to build, and we can start to go deeper and deeper in that practice. Even more deeper is if you go on a meditation retreat. So for example, in these 10 days, you've done 2 hours a day. So we have really deepened, especially if you weren't doing 2 hours a day before. That's kind of suddenly you see a lot more about yourself, a lot about your mind, and more potential for insight to come. So that's even stronger if you go on a 10-day retreat, which I can recommend, where you're meditating 10 hours a day. It's accumulating, so you're going deeper, and you can start to see and tease out more and more subtlety, more and more things that you previously never saw before about yourself. Even a lot of memories can come back, a lot of childhood memories, maybe different emotions that have been stored deep inside for a while, which you haven't dealt with or which you didn't even know were there. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense what is coming. But yeah, so deepening is really where we can, is an important dimension to develop, because it helps us to really completely let go of everything. The more we deepen, the more we can just continue letting go. So in the beginning, we might be able to let go of, it's okay, my belief about this and this, my opinion in that conversation I had, I can let go of that. But something else is really dear to me and I want to hold on. My desire to be good at my job or something like this. And that's a completely healthy desire, not to say that's a bad thing. But deeper we go, the more we just let go. We let go of everything. We let go of our personality. We let go of our deepest desires, our desire for, we can let go of loneliness. We can let go of anger. We can let go of irritation. We can let go of expectations. Continuously let go of everything, and until there's nothing left, there's just emptiness. There's nothingness. And then we come back. We come back, and the things that are really important to us, they will come back. They will stay. And the rest, the gunk, the trash that we actually never really needed, that can remain in the void. So that's a useful dimension to develop. The other dimension that I mentioned is becoming more broad in the practice. So this is really where we start to bring mindful awareness, where we start to bring our clarity, our body awareness into the rest of life. So kind of throughout the day, noticing what is happening, noticing how we think, noticing how we feel, without trying to change it or react to it in the moment that we're noticing. And here's where we start to bring the knowledge or wisdom, a way of relating to experience that we cultivate on the cushion into different situations in our life. And when we are in a relationship, when we're talking to someone, when we're working, when we're doing our activities, when we are bored, when we are happy, when we're stressed, when we're sad. And the more situations you can apply mindfulness in, the more you will learn about how you work in those situations, how you function. So this is a very important dimension. I've met a lot of practitioners who cultivate either one of these, but not both of them. So if you cultivate a lot of depth in your practice and going very deep, but then you fail to try and bring that into your life, your normal habits that you have in different situations there will definitely be a little bit more awareness, but if you're not trying to intentionally cultivate awareness in other places in your life, you will still fall prey to your habitual ways of reacting, your habitual ways of acting. So you want to bring the awareness into all your life. So I've met a lot of meditators who've spent thousands of hours doing it, but they are still very judgmental or they still get angry or these kinds of things. And yeah, they still suffer, which is not the point. The other thing is, if you just cultivate a lot of breadth but not the depth in the practice, it will definitely help. You will definitely feel that you can enjoy your meals a little more, you can be a bit more present in your conversations. But to really be free from suffering and to sort out inconsistencies within yourself, it's also good to go deeper if you can. Yeah, so the daily practice, maybe a few techniques or tips for that. So I would say minimum is 30 minutes per day of formal meditation. Do 30 minutes a day, that will help you kind of accumulate, because it usually takes about 15 minutes for the mind to settle down, and then we can start to see more what's going on. 30 minutes a day. If you can do 1 hour, 1.5, 2 hours. It's great. And generally, the more you practice, of course, the quality also matters, but the more you practice, the more opportunity, or the more you're cultivating these qualities of awareness. You can practice anapanasati or vipassana, whatever one you kind of resonated with more. If you can practice Vipassana, I would recommend Vipassana, but if that was too difficult to do the body scanning, especially as you reduce the time that you're meditating, if you get super distracted the whole time, or if too strong things are coming, you can always come back to Anapanasati, the breath at the nose. With our daily practice, it's a bit like sweeping the room. So we kind of just, if we just sweep the room and clean the room a little bit every day, we prevent too much dirt piling up. And then once in a while, we do a longer intensive retreat, which is more like a general house cleaning, where you're really taking everything apart and scrubbing it. Yeah. So the other thing is the technique for mindfulness in daily life. The basic principle of this is to have awareness of the body as you move through your life. And when you notice that you're just walking, you can just be aware of sensations of walking. If you're doing something physical, washing the dishes and reaching for a door handle, you can just notice the sensations of that and what that feels like. Kind of a home base, and awareness of the body prevents us from going too much into our thinking, our delusions. So little useful graphic for this is, imagine this is your day. So you wake up and you go to sleep here. So without any practicing, the way our day usually goes is we're kind of like super subject to the different conditions and things that happen. We constantly jumping around, we feel happy, and something good happens, we feel elated, then something bad happens, we feel sad. The things are constant. We're so subject to what's going on in our environment and also what's going on in our minds. And we get constantly pushed and pulled by everything until we go to sleep again. The daily practice just helps give us a little bit of a boost in a way of being grounded, being present with ourselves. And then throughout the day, those swings will be less intense. So not to say that we won't experience highs and lows anymore, but it will just help you stay a little more grounded, stay a little more even, a little bit more calm, less reactive throughout those highs and lows. Even better is if you can dot your day with different moments of mindfulness. So it doesn't have to be very long, just maybe you're working and you just finish the task, and before you get up and go to lunch, you just maybe take 30 seconds to just sit and rest in the body. So maybe doing that now. So even I noticed that, when I'm talking, I'm spinning in my thoughts, my ideas, and communicating them. And I noticed myself being more energized, excited, and a little bit more like frantic. Maybe you can see that in my body, but which is fine. It's useful to do that. But then just taking a moment to rest and come back to myself. Then I notice immediately after I have more clarity. I have more peace of mind, more clarity in the way I'm speaking, more awareness of what I'm saying, and I come back to the essential, what's needed right now. So yeah, this is useful to do, to dot your day. Another thing to practice is anything can be your practice. So as I touched on this on the first lecture, I told you that whatever you're doing is your practice of meditation. If you're working, that's your meditation object, and you keep coming back to that. If you're talking to someone, that's your meditation object, and you stay present in that conversation. And I want to just extend this idea a little bit further. So anything can become your practice. So for example, you are stuck in an annoying conversation which you for some reason can't get out of because because you're sitting at the table or whatever. It can be your practice in that moment to cultivate patience, to cultivate kindness. Or maybe this person is not listening and being very rude to me because he is upset or unhappy about something which he's not really talking about. So maybe I can make my practice then to be patient, be a good listener, be compassionate, extend my compassion towards that person, to cultivate equanimity. Or maybe if you tend to just always listen and tend to never stand up for yourself, maybe then your practice is becoming, no, you're aware that it's really making you upset and you're practicing mindfulness on it, and it's okay, but it's also okay to set the boundary. Hey, I need to do this right now. I'm going to go. So everything becomes your practice. If you're doing some work that you don't like and you're getting irritated, agitated because a piece of technology isn't working, the internet isn't working, the printer isn't working, you feel yourself getting frustrated. I speak from experience. Now my practice is to have equanimity with this, to feel that in my body, to patiently move through the motions, to do the things, rather than getting so upset about the things. So everything is the practice. The whole point of Vipassana is to make us have more wisdom, more understanding, to act skillfully, to know what is wholesome and helpful and what isn't, and to be kinder, to relate to our experience with less judgment, more kindness towards ourselves and towards our others. Okay. So let's take a brief moment to review what we learned today. So just importantly to do this even if you're watching the recording, and this really helps to integrate the concept. So let's take a moment just to sit, close down the eyes, feel the body sitting. Today we talked about that mindfulness is to help us understand, to help us experience the truth of our experience. We learned about these three different levels of happiness, of sensual pleasures, of peace, and of wisdom, which is the most long-term project. We always have options for dealing with situations. We can walk away, divert our attention, we can think positively, reframe it. We can use concentration meditation by focusing on something intently. We can practice mindfulness by facing directly the things that bother us. And over time, mindfulness will lead to freedom from those things bothering us at the deepest level. We want to develop both along the depth in our practice, our longer sittings, our meditation intensive times, as well as in our daily life, by just having little flashes of mindfulness throughout the day. So we can become more skillful and realize more what's needed to help others and to relate with kindness towards others and towards ourselves. Wisdom and kindness. Okay, so I invite you to again open the eyes. So one little topic that I would just want to bring up. So this whole course is completely run off donations. There's this Pali word which is dana, which is kind of what we say at the end of retreats. This is we give dana, we don't give a donation, we give dana. Dana means generosity in Pali. And the Dhamma, so the Dhamma means kind of the teachings of the Buddha, is always shared freely to everyone. The Dhamma is not, we try not to put a high price on the Dhamma because the teachings are priceless. And so in that way, the teachings always rely on the generosity and goodwill of people, the generosity and goodwill of the teacher to kind of give without expecting anything in return, generosity and goodwill of students who feel that they benefit and who want to help others benefit, and so they support others with their dana. And I invite you to to give if you plan to do that, to donate selflessly, so to donate rather than thinking about your donation as a kind of payment for receiving this course. Think about your donation as you're paying it forward for the next course of people. So the previous course paid for you, or kind of gave for you to be here and to receive this, and you are helping the next cohort of people to receive these teachings. It was actually the first time where I charged a kind of registration fee, a €5 registration fee, and it's a little experiment to see if people are more committed, because before I had like 400 signups and only about 20 people would complete the course. So I'm seeing now whether €5 registration fee helps people stick with it. Donations go towards the costs of running this thing, so technology costs, etc. And the donation go towards supporting my continued learning in meditation, to try and learn more, to try and become a better teacher. And I'm very much a student of meditation. So helping me to go to retreats, helping me to live the lifestyle that allows me to investigate these kinds of things. And part of the donations also goes towards supporting the local monastery where I've been staying for the last few months, where they have a little kids shelter here for disadvantaged kids. And my teacher, he's a monk, Ajahn Praputar, near Chiang Mai, and he runs a lovely little center here with the kids shelter, and also international meditators that can come and learn. And it's also all donation based. So just to pass on that. But so thank you so much for listening to that. And I really enjoy to do this, and I hope that you received something from this course. We still have the 2 more days. So tomorrow I will send out a little metta or loving kindness meditation, which you can do in your own time. And it's important to kind of round off nicely a more intensive practice period with some loving kindness meditation to dedicate our efforts towards well-being of others. And of course, you can ask me any questions on WhatsApp, or even write it in the YouTube comments right now. I'll get back to you. But thank you so much for joining. Sadhu. Okay.